Hello and welcome. We are back as Under the Halo. Apologies for our break, but we've gone away and decided how to make things better for all our lovely listeners. But today we're going to do a podcast as a season review. It's been a very eventful season, but what we're going to do is we're going to go through month by month, reading out the results and then picking a highlight and a low light from that month. I am Matt Stewart. With me today is Kevin.
Hello.
Is Jeff.
Hi.
And is Mark.
Hello.
So I am going to kick off all the way back to the 12th of August. Can anybody remember that far back? I can.
I can remember the Huddersfield game.
You can remember the Huddersfield game. We're not quite at that point yet. So if we read out the results for August. We started off with a 0-0 draw at home to Swansea. We then had a dramatic 3-2 win at home against West Ham. That was, of course, the game that got the fixtures being reversed because of West Ham being in an Olympic stadium.
Yep.
Much to Mark's ideal.
Despair.
Despair. Following that, we had a result that I'll whisper. It was a 2-0 loss against Wolves in the EFL Cup. And then we had a 0-0 draw away at Huddersfield for our first away game of the season. So, who wants to come in for their first highlight of that month? Jeff.
I think the highlight of that month for me was the 3-2 win at home to West Ham. It was a good win. You know, it's not always good to see a few goals. You know, and to score 3 goals at home. We didn't do that much this season, so that's the highlight for me.
Okay.
I thought we were kind of lucky again, and the West Ham match we were really kind of lucky to get away with 3 points in that match, so I was quite happy with that. That's kind of the highlight.
Okay, the highlight for me also was the 3-2 win against West Ham. It was just the nature of it. If I remember rightly, West Ham were down to 10 men, and they came back at us. It was 2-2, and foul on Yoshida for the penalty that sealed the 3-2. I would just say that in amongst that highlight, the highlight for me was that Dusan Tadic didn't take the second penalty. Because I remember the first penalty and he gave me heart palpitations, but yeah, that was definitely the highlight.
Yeah, obviously my highlight's going to be the same. I genuinely think that's at half time in the West Ham game was probably the happiest anyone ever was with Pellegrino the entire season.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I would actually go along with that.
Having had a, albeit frustrating result, but a good performance against Swansea. And then
I thought I was quite optimistic. I was like,
yeah,
Pellegrino, yeah, he's a cracking manager. He's going to bring us success, and then gradually over the course of the season, he made me think otherwise.
Yes, absolutely.
Optimism.
So are we going for the low light now?
Low light, probably the Wolves match. But then we did fail the week inside, so yeah.
Yes, but so did Wolves.
Yes, we made 5 changes that game. I have to say that was my low point as well of August. We fielded, I think it was 5 or 6 changes, and Wolves changed their entire team.
They did.
You know?
Yeah, I wasn't at the game, but I do remember being very disappointed being able to listen to Radio Solent and yeah, just obviously
And
very disappointed in the game.
second low light was probably the Swansea game because we should have got something more out of that game than a draw, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, should we move on to September, or has anybody else got any more to add?
I was just going to say that the low light for me was the Wolves game as well. To lose 2-0 to Wolves wouldn't seem so bad because they had a very good season, but the fact they made 11 changes, that was the real disappointing factor for me. You should be beating a team in the league below that they were at the time, especially having made 11 changes.
And it was more or less their youth team. I seem to remember there was a lad called, I think it was Connor Rowan, that came on and scored, and he's 17 years of age. You're sat there and you're looking at the other players that are on the pitch for Wolves. It was definitely disappointing.
Okay, we will move on to September. So we started off with a defeat at home to Watford. It was 2-0. Then we turned that around with a 1-0 win away at Crystal Palace in Roy Hodgson's first game in charge. Then we had a narrow 1-0 defeat at home to Manchester United, and then we lost away 2-1 at Stoke. Who wants to come in with a highlight of the season?
Oh, that
Highlight of
Crystal Palace away. Obviously, that's the only one where I think we actually got results. So Crystal Palace was my highlight, and I think we played quite well in that match.
Yeah, I remember that match well, and thinking that we'd started to maybe turn some of the performances around. Obviously, we had the dodgy performance and the result the week before against Watford at home. So it was good to get the win in that sense there. Obviously, that was in the middle of Crystal Palace's absolute turmoil of the start of the season.
Went at the right time.
Yeah, we did go there at the right time.
It
absolutely.
definitely went at the right time. Yeah.
Anything else to add for highlights?
Yeah, I was just going to say the Crystal Palace game for me as well was a highlight. I think we won 1-0. I think Stephen Davis got the goal, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And if I remember rightly, Lamina had a very good game that day.
Did.
Yeah, he's a class midfielder.
He's a class midfielder, yeah.
But does he give the ball away? That's the question.
My highlight, perversely, was not that at all. My highlight of that month was Yoshida's goal against Stoke City. It was out of this world, and I can't believe that he didn't get goal of the season. All right, I know that Buffel didn't get goal of the season neither, and it went to Gabbiadini because of the circumstances of the Swansea game. But if you watch, I can't help but keep watching that on YouTube. The technique for a central defender is top drawer.
It was very, very good. Ironically, that was going to be my low light, actually. Not the goal itself, but the fact that
We didn't get anything out of
that I
it.
didn't get anything out of it. And I remember at the time sticking up for Pellegrino at the end of that game because he'd made too many attacking changes.
Substitution, yeah.
I remember we had 5 attackers on the pitch at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And we actually looked so unbalanced the other way trying to get the win after we equalised. That's why we conceded. And the interesting thing is that that was obviously direct criticism of what we had from Claude.
Yeah.
Well, the season before. So although we still lost the game, I actually was trying to
Actually, I'm on your side about that.
saying to people actually it was
I would say that, yeah, I suppose it's the classic. You get back to 1-1 and you decide, right, let's try and go for the win. But even you would admit that on the day it was so gun-ho.
yes, it was.
You know?
Think
And
the-
then the nemesis came and bit us on the
Yeah.
bum, as you say, you know, with
Yeah.
Peter Crouch scoring the
It
win.
was. I mean, I may be wrong. I'm trying to remember. It was Austin, Gabbiadini, Tadic. I think
Yeah, Tadic was still
Redmond,
on.
perhaps maybe.
Yeah, it was Redmond, yeah.
And there was another one because there was definitely 5 attackers.
Yeah.
I
Was
couldn't
Bufel
believe-
still on the pitch at that stage?
Who? Sorry?
Was
Well, I think
Bufel
Bufal was, yeah, actually. Yeah, so those 5 attacking players all trying to, which had no balance to the team, and that's why we ended up conceding.
Yeah.
Anything else to add for September?
Watford was my disappointing low light, because I thought we just didn't really offer him any, like, you know. I don't think we offered anything in that
In an
match.
attacking sense, it was. I mean, that was my low light as well, because as I think I said before, to me our defence just looked like they met the car park, 10 minutes before kick-off.
Mm.
But I suppose you get those. I mean, what I was thinking that early on in the season was you get results like that, but then a pattern started to emerge.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
I think because it was 2 longish range strikes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was just in that match.
Well, there was no closing down.
No.
That was the thing.
That's what I remember,
There
yeah.
was nobody
In that-
coming out to meet.
In that match, I just don't think we showed any enthusiasm at all. We just didn't offer anything going forward. I just think we were shocking that day.
Yeah, what wasn't the clever?
I wanted to win that match so badly as well, and I remember that. I was sat in the stands thinking, come on, Saints, do this
Yeah.
for Jamie. And
Yes.
we just
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
And we just didn't offer anything. And I was like fuming.
Yeah. Jeff, anything else to add?
No, not really.
That says a lot about
Fair
September.
enough.
And as you can well imagine, this is a pattern that begins to emerge in all of our opinions. So moving on to October, obviously we had the international break again, and then we had a 2-2 draw at home to Newcastle. We then had a win at home against West Brom, and we had a draw away at Brighton to end the month. So we didn't actually lose in the month of October. Who wants to come in first on that?
Let Jeffrey.
Go, Jeff.
Yeah, I think my highlight for that month was actually the 1-1 draw away to Brighton, because although I was disappointed to only get a 1-1 draw at Brighton, I'd done very well to even actually make the game, because actually decided to have an accident at work and actually fell over backward over a wheelbarrow and hurt my leg. So I was hobbling around like a 9-year-old man. So just to get to the game was a highlight for me for that month.
Fair enough.
So I'll take that.
Fair enough. Anybody else?
Well, I'm not going to bring personal tragedy into it, but my highlight was obviously the 1-0 win against West Brom. We had a game that was going absolutely nowhere with 2 dire teams. I mean, West Brom were just clinging on for the draw. We just didn't seem to have any ideas about how to break it down. And much maligned as he is, Bufel, right, whatever your opinion about him is he came up with the goods on the day. So that was my highlight, and my low light for that month was actually the Brighton game. I thought was started really well,
Yes, we did.
right, and it, first half was great, but I still sit here and wonder what we were doing in the second. It just looked like we were. There was no. I mean, it's perverse whenever we're talking about the Stoke game, right?
Yeah.
And I'm mentioning now about the Brighton game, and you were saying it was 5 attackers were on, and I remember it well. But the Brighton game, you just sat there and you're thinking, because when you look at it in the cold light of day, how much did Brighton actually offer? They came back into it once they scored their equaliser and things like that there. But the second half for me just drifted into nothing,
It's a good question. I mean, for anybody that does know me, obviously Southampton West Brom is a good game for me, bringing the personal side into it. As my best friend said, he said the worst thing about the game was not West Brom's performance, but actually the fact that somebody won. That's what he said.
For a comment, I suppose.
my other highlight, I actually have another highlight in this, and this is still one of my favourite moments as us as Under the Halo in the Brighton game, because he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming.
I was just about to say that.
Because Kevin said after the Brighton game that Fraser Forster should have saved Brighton's goal.
No way.
That in itself necessarily isn't the funny thing. It's the fact that he said that he should have saved it with his head.
Yeah, that was something said.
So my highlight was the Brighton game, because James Ward-Prowse, I was like slagging him off for free kicks prior to them scoring. To us scoring.
There's a pattern this last season for that.
I
You
was
definitely.
slagging him off. Next thing I know, he's taken his wonderful free kick. It's hit the crossbar and then it's gone in the back of the net. I was celebrating. I had a really decent day out at Brighton. I took my mum as well. And then
Good man.
low light was Fraser Foster not saving the shot with his head.
I tell you what, if he did save that with his head, that would have definitely been my season highlight.
Very good kill.
Anything else to add? And I'm hoping you do, because November's results are still trying to load on my phone.
What was your low light? I thought your low light should be the fact that you had picked up an injury at work and then had to go to the
That's not Southampton related, unfortunately.
Well, another low light would be the 2-2 draw with Newcastle. And I was expecting to beat them.
Yeah,
It's the kind of game you want 3 points from.
Didn't we? We conceded straight after equalising, didn't we? If I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. All that hard work, and because we did work hard to actually get ourselves back into that position, and then just
It was still much
conceded
straight away,
again.
wasn't
You're
it?
sat there thinking, you know, you've given it away again. Really.
I remember being really chuffed for Gabby, with that being his first goals. In
Yeah.
2 months since the opening. No, sorry, not the opening day. The second game in against West Ham.
Yeah.
So going into November now, we started with another home game. We seem to have so many home games at the start of the season, with a very, very disappointing result against Burnley, which was 1-0. We then went to Liverpool 2 weeks later and lost 3-0. One of the highlights of the season, arguably, was a week later with us winning at home to Everton 4-1. And then one game that Mark had a massive rant about at the end of November, away at Manchester City, losing 2-1. Mark, do you want to just give a flavour of that rant to remind us?
Yeah, no, it was a rant about how can you have an official in Paul Tierney who lives in the greater Manchester area, refereeing Manchester City against Southampton, and the fact that we played 2 minutes of injury time. You know, I felt like we were going from from Fergie time to Guardiola time. You know, and I think it was what was so raw for me at the time was we actually gave a really good account of ourselves. We actually deserve something out of the game, you know, and I don't think leaving the ground the taunts from the City fans, you know, because obviously when you're scoring winners like that right at the death, you're just not enjoying it. But having said that, it would still be my low light of the month. Another low light would have been that Sam Vokes goal, because it was the classic sucker punch.
Yeah.
You know, and Sean Dyche knew exactly what he was doing in terms of the substitutions and stuff like that. But the highlight obviously would have been winning against 4-1 against Everton. You know, and I'm sorry, I would say I expected that result, because Everton at the time were in disarray. David Unsworth, you know, good coach behind the scenes at Everton and all the rest of it, but you know, when you look at the situation that he was taking over in, you know, yeah, I did expect us to win. Probably not 4-1, but I did expect to win that day.
What about you, Kev?
highlight was probably the performance at Man City. I thought we should have got something out of the game, and I thought we were absolutely outstanding during that match, as well as the Everton match. I thought we played really well in that match as well, and yeah, I was quite disappointed with the result at Man City to concede a goal in I think it was 97th minute, and there was only 5 minutes added on or something. I can't remember. And that was my low light, just the fact that we conceded such late on.
Jeff?
Yeah, I was basically going to say pretty much what Kev's just said. I mean, the whole lot for me was the excellent performance at Manchester City, I think, which was one of the best performances of the season. A game which we could have even won. Thoroughly deserved a point, and yet, a cruel goal right to death, and we got nothing. And that obviously is the low light. But the performance, if we'd taken that performance out of that game and then built on that, that was a cracking performance. So it was a case of that was the whole lot and the low lot, really.
Yeah. I mean, for me, at that stage, Pellegrino had sort of bought himself some time, because after the Burnley game, I'd sort of thought to myself, but I think it was more the nature of the Burnley game, because sometimes you sit and watch a game and you think this result's written in the stars, it's laid in stone already, right? And you could see what was happening. I mean, there was, don't get me wrong, plenty of endeavour. We had chances in that game, right? I'm not saying the players were committed. There was enough chances for us to, go into the lead. But you could just see they were soaking up the pressure, and you could see what the plan was.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, he comes on, he scores, and you're sort of, left deflated. At that stage, that's when I started questioning Pellegrino.
Absolutely.
But the Man City performance, as I say, that bought a bit of time for me again, because I thought, well, they still look as if they're playing for him. That's the thing,
Yeah, absolutely. I remember being very, very disappointed with the Burnley game, thinking that should be a game that we needed to target to win. Obviously, we didn't have the best start to the season. Exactly as always been said, you could see it coming. If I remember rightly, we did miss a couple of chances that we should have scored in beforehand to really win the game. And then I remember just thinking, that it was such a poor goal to concede. The cross coming in, there was no pressure on the ball out wide. And yes, Sam Vokes doing what he actually does really well.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
obviously that being a slight sucker punch, being his connections to the club as well. But yeah, so that was definitely a low light for me. Again, as we've said, the Manchester City winner. Obviously, heart-wrenching, really. My highlight is definitely, obviously, at Everton. I would still argue that's probably one of the best performances. Certainly under Pellegrino, definitely under his reign, but of the season as a whole. But as Mark said, it should have been that way because of the state that Everton were in, and it was a must-win game for us at the time. And
We had
also,
nothing to beat in that match, so did we? There was nothing. Everton offered nothing, so that's why I say the Man City game for me would probably have been a bigger highlight.
I mean, I remember a lad who sits behind me at St Mary's going absolutely bonkers at the fact that we conceded just before half time again. Albeit it was an absolutely fabulous goal by Sigurdsson. He just went absolutely mad, and that has always stuck with me because obviously we have conceded in injury time in both halves a lot this season. And I've still never seen a goal hit the bar and the post, and then the post again, and then going in. I think Sigurdsson's goal hit the woodwork 3 times before going in, which was something I've never seen before. Anybody else got anything they want to add before we move on into December? My results are still trying to load. Can you remember the first result of December?
I'll find out for you, just 2 seconds. So we played Arsenal, Southampton 1, Arsenal 1, Leicester 4,
Oh, yeah.
Southampton won, and Chelsea won, Southampton 0, and I think Huddersfield won, Southampton won.
And then we played United, didn't we?
We played
Tottenham
Tottenham.
on
Oh,
the
Tottenham, yeah, of
Boxing
course, sorry,
Day,
yeah.
We
which
lost
was
5-2.
5-2,
Yeah.
and the 0-0 against United on the 30th of December.
Oh, and we left one out at the beginning. We left one against the away game at Bournemouth, which was 1-0. So to run through that again, at the start it was 1-0 against Bournemouth, then it was 1-0 at home to Arsenal, 4-1 defeat to Leicester, 1-0 defeat to Chelsea, 1-1 draw at home against Huddersfield, a Boxing Day defeat at Wembley to Tottenham, 5-2, and then a 0-0 away at Old Trafford. Who wants to start with that? Go, Jeff.
I'll start with a low light for that month. The 4-1 result against Leicester. We were awful that day. Absolutely awful, diabolical. Game to forget.
That was the game where
I think we've had some poor results and some poor games this season, just finished. But for me, that was one of the worst performances this season. We were just all over the place. They tore us apart.
unfortunately that was the game for me where Pellegrino signed his death warrant. You know?
So
And I don't take any pleasure in saying it.
Yes.
So for me, I don't know what's worse, the Tottenham performance or the Leicester performance. Both were equally as bad as one another. I remember being inside the stadium. I remember Mark missing the game.
Yeah. And then go, thankfully.
That's a
And
slight dick there.
I think Mark was like rubbing it into me, the fact that I was in a stadium and it was like raining
It
and
was
then,
horrendous weather, I remember that.
and then Mahrez scoring as well, and yeah, it was just,
Leicester, yeah.
it was just both as equally as bad. I kind of like, do you know when you lose Pevy, you kind of like take it out of your memory and
forget
then
it.
put it in the rubbish bin. Those two performances they come from my memory.
The good thing is you've boxed them off, Kev. You've done a Jordan Pickford and you've boxed them off.
I remember saying before the Leicester game that it was going to be one out wide game, and I was very surprised with the fact that we had Tadic and Buffal on either side, because they would naturally want to cut in and not do the defensive work on the way back, and I still to this day think that's what lost us the game. I think Claude very much, I'm sure he would have been aware of that, obviously with his previous connection, and just exploited it with Mahrez especially, and just used the spaces out wide to tear us apart. Obviously, I do remember obviously us getting back to 3-1 and then us having an absolutely golden chance to make it 3-2 with Charlie Austin.
That's right, yeah, I remember that.
And then seconds later they went down the other end and scored, with Okazaki beating his international teammate Yoshida. And that just summed up many games, but it summed up that game in particular, that at the time we needed the quality to get back in the game. We didn't quite produce it and then completely let it slip
I was saying my
minutes later.
I would say my highlight for that month probably. I know we lost against Chelsea away, but I think we played quite well. Apart from that Alonso free kick at like just before half time, I thought we played alright in that match.
And so my highlight of the month was the 0-0 at United.
Yeah.
Because I'd even say we could have came away with all 3 points. Shane Long had a glorious opportunity which
Did.
snatched at it a little bit, I think. And my low point actually wasn't the Leicester game because I wasn't there, as Kevin's pointed out. My low point, believe it or not, was the Arsenal game, because we played so well, right, and we were so close to getting the 3 points, right, and another nemesis of Saints turned up on the day, Mr. Giroud, and scored. You're thinking, hang on, are we not learning about these different people that come to St Mary's and keep scoring against us?
I think he cost us, is it 5 points? I think he cost us in the end.
Yeah. That you mean overall in the
In the
season?
season.
Yeah.
And a semi-final.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
semi final.
And then he's only the second player in Premier League history, I think, to score twice at the same away ground in one season.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I
think
I
you're right.
remember that stat
Yeah, I
being
think that's right.
bandied about. Yeah, my highlight was actually going to come from the Bournemouth game.
Okay.
I remember going crazy at Charlie Austin's equaliser, and his celebration was just wonderful.
I remember that.
Telling the Bournemouth fans to calm down and shut up. It was brilliant. Um,
That's a strange one. Anyway.
One of my other lowlights I want to pick out is the Huddersfield game, because we should have won that game. And again, it was just a stupid error in defence that led to their equaliser. And to show how stupid a goal that was, I think that was the first point they picked up on the road up until that point.
For years. Yeah, it was.
I remember the Huddersfield fans on the way back being absolutely delighted that they got a point away. Yeah. Anything else to add for December, as everyone sort of said?
Nope.
No, that's about it, alright.
Jeff, anything else?
But I was only going to say that the more highlight would be the 0-0 draw at Old Trafford against
Mm.
Manchester United.
But that was a very good performance. It's obviously worth noting that was the start of McCarthy's
Stint and go.
running the team, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, because if I remember rightly, they announced before the game that Calvin Davis had actually been appointed to the backroom staff,
Yes.
and all the rumours started, if you remember, about
Yes.
it was going to be an axis of him and Yanni Jada that were going to come in and save the day, which I thought was absolutely bizarre fun. You know, but there you go. Such is the way Saints fans think.
Yes. Don't criticise our listeners.
Don't.
Moving on to January, into the new year. Started off with what was probably billed up as one of the biggest games of the season at the time. At home to Crystal Palace, which we lost 2-1. We then went to West London in the FA Cup and won 1-0 at Fulham. We then went back to London a week later and drew 2-2 at Watford. We then had a 1-1 draw at home to Spurs, and then back in the FA Cup we had a 1-0 win at home to Watford, and then finishing the month with a 1-1 draw at home to Brighton in the Premier League.
Okay, so I'll start with these because I'll make them quick. The highlight for me was the 1-0 win against Watford in the FA Cup, because it continued, or it was Jack Stevens' birthday, if I remember rightly, as well, and he scored the winner. And it continued, I think he continued then to score a few goals for us during that. He sort of had a bit of a
Scored 3 and
purple
3,
patch. Yeah. And the low light for me was, and I'm not going to dwell on this one, but and I'm sure you'll all agree,
Yep.
the low light was the Corey's handball at Vicarage Road. That was the low light.
Where was VAR when
But
you
there
needed
you
it?
go.
Absolutely, definitely my low light was that one. Anything else to add?
My two highlights were the performance first half against Watford. We were absolutely outstanding. Second highlight would have been the fact that Shane Long scored a goal at Crystal Palace at home. I was absolutely dumbfounded that he actually put the ball in the back of the net and actually knew where the net was. And the low light was Watford's Decore's goal and just the second half performance against Watford, which
Well, like I said at the time, you couldn't have got a more Jekyll and Hyde performance out of Saints that day. First half, utterly, they looked like they were dominating. They were playing some fairly free-flowing stuff, And in the second half, we were just camped on our 18-yard box.
I remember being inside the football stadium saying to Mark, "This is probably the best performance I've ever seen, and we could go on and win this game by 6 or 7 goals." And then the next thing I know,
Yeah.
the next half it's 2-2, and I'm
You
thinking
were-
to myself,
You weren't the only Saints fan that came up and said that to me at half time, actually.
Yeah. I remember just praying towards the end of the season that we weren't coming back to that handball incident at the end of the season. Yes.
And thinking, because we could have been down.
Of course, obviously, there's other performances in that time that you can look
Yeah.
at, but for an actual refereeing decision that is so blatant to cost you 2 points. I remember.
I think it was Danny Murphy or Kevin Kilbana, one of those two, that were on Match of the Day. I think it was Kevin Kilbana. And he turned around and he actually said, "How did the referee not see that?"
Yeah.
Because I think they showed a still of his eye line whenever the Corey was.
Yeah.
So.
but if they had VAR,
Yeah.
that would have never even stood that goal.
No, I think I remember a lot of Saints fans that day not actually wanting to criticise the ref, though, which I thought was very strange. They wanted to criticise the performance, especially the second half.
I think when you get a decision like that against
Yeah.
you, I mean, you know me well enough that I don't criticise refs because I think it's a difficult job to do.
Except for when they're
No,
from Manchester.
Well,
and
yeah,
the
yeah, there
referee
is that, but I just thought that was a strange refereeing appointment. To be fair, but
Yeah, the handball was just so obvious, and I mean, obviously in the end we survived, and I was obviously buzzing off of that, but I just remember praying that I hope that if we did go down, we went
I didn't go
down
down because of that.
comfortably.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't go down with that 2 points being so vital because it was just such an obvious decision. If the laws of the game were applied, we would have won that game 2-1.
Jeff, what was your highlight and low light from that?
Well, my low light was the goal that was scored, blatantly scored with his hand at Watford. You know, if you lose or you don't get the 3 points you feel you could have got because of an injustice, it's another
Kick
type
in the
of low.
teeth.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's a
it's
kick
what-
in
you
the
know,
teeth.
when your team just don't deserve anything, it's a bit different. But we lost 2 points that day because of an injustice and a wrong decision, which is always disappointing.
Any high from January?
Not what I can think of off the top of my head. No.
Okay, fair enough.
My highlights. I was similar to Kevin actually. Saying about Shane Long, I was very excited that he'd scored. I was very chuffed.
So there was so many funny things going around on Twitter when he scored, honestly. Because I remember Paddy Power putting odds of
Yeah.
like 250 to 1 for him to score a goal.
Should we move on to February?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do.
So, beginning of February, we started with a vital 3 points at West Brom, which was 3-2. We then lost in the league to Liverpool 8 days later, 2-0. Then went back up to the Hawthorns for the FA Cup tie, which we won 2-1. And then we were at Turf Moor for a 1-0 draw at Burnley to end the month. Mark?
Okay, so highlight, low light would have been Burnley. It was absolutely freezer off that day, right? And the fact that I was sat front row didn't help, right? Because I was the windshield for everybody else that was in the stand. But anyway, so it was a low for me because of the way the game was. It was also a high because of the nature of Gabby's equaliser. And it was the classic knockdown from the big man Carrillo, funnily enough.
Yes.
And Gabby stuck it away. But yeah, so the highlight, I mean that was a little bit of a low light really, but the highlight I suppose was the West Brom game. I mean, how we turned that round. You know, because it was a shot on goal. You know, Lamina scores, and then we had Jack Stevens from a corner scoring, and then we had obviously James Ward-Prowse with the free kick, and it was probably my most enjoyable away game of the season. And obviously Swansea was because of what was on it, but in terms of how we played, and although it wasn't the whole game, you know, for an away match, I just thought, yeah, actually that was probably the most enjoyable.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my most enjoyable moments of the season. I remember going crazy for James Ward-Prowse scoring a free kick. Because they had the argument with Buffal beforehand.
Yeah, because Buffal wanted to take it, didn't they?
I remember Buffal having a bit of a thing with the crowd.
Had a bit of a
and
party.
making up with the crowd as soon as James Ward-Prowse scored after rugby tackling him to the ground in celebration. That was quite funny. That was a bit of a. I remember then Saints making a comment about it, taking the mick out of it on Twitter as well afterwards. So that was fun. And then another highlight of mine is that, unfortunately, again at Kevin's expense, with Wesley Hoot scoring in the other game against West Brom, after saying literally 2 weeks before at the league West Brom game afterwards that he didn't think that Wesley Hoot.
And just so as you're all aware, listeners, he still loses for the pizzas.
He does. He said that Wesley Hoot was not going to score this season at the first West Brom game, only for him to then score 2 weeks later. So that was fun. I'm going to have another highlight. I actually have 3 in 1 month. What's going on? Gabby's equaliser after a game where we didn't really deserve to get much out of it.
That's why I said it was a highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember thinking that I didn't feel Burnley were very good value for it either. But obviously, again, any last minute goal to gain points.
Can I just say I made a schoolboy error that game as well?
Go on.
Right, because I had left my seat and started going down the steps at that stage because I was worried about trying to get out after the final whistle and stuff like that. I decided to vacate my seat as sort of, what was it, the 89th minute or 90th minute was being, it might even been in overtime, but I'd left my seat at the stage, and then of course as soon as you hear the crowd you go rushing, and it was just I was so annoyed as well.
Never leave early, guys, never leave early. Go Jeff, go.
My highlight was basically the amount of different players for us that got on the score sheet that month.
Yeah.
I think it was a good month for team goals.
Yeah.
A lot of different players chipped in.
Yeah.
So
scored 6 goals, I think.
Can I start off with my lowlights?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wesley Hoot scoring.
Okay, so my lowlights was the fact that Mark got Mario Lamina's shirt.
Well, you still haven't got over that one.
There is wonder goal. Another lowlight was the fact that Wesley Hoyt scored a goal, and I remember looking at my phone going, "Oh, you're joking." Absolutely. Another lowlight was the Liverpool performance, because I was winding up Liverpool fans before the game saying we're going to thrash you, then they just come back at me and
We played well in that first half.
We still lost 2-0.
If I remember. I remember us playing. I remember the Liverpool goal was from a Hoot error, wasn't it? I remember us really pressing to get back in the game and actually thinking we really deserved.
I actually thought that was one of the stranger atmospheres. It was
yeah.
very quiet, that Liverpool home game. It was almost like the fans, because normally they would go and they'd have a go at Axiom, I'm just saying in general or something, but it seemed very flat, and I don't think there was a very high expectation level that we could do anything in that game. That's how I felt, and the atmosphere came across like that,
I'd say that I'd argue that 2 of the best goals scored against us came in that month as well. The second goal at Liverpool was an outstanding move.
Salah's goal was
Just unbelievable bit of skill to find the space and the movement off the ball. For the second goal there was incredible. And although it didn't matter in the end, it was Rondon's volley in the FA Cup. But
was a hell of a strike, but I also thought that Dusan Tadic's goal
It was
was
very good
very composed, because I actually thought at one stage, but the actual finish was very clever, I thought.
that was in the FA Cup game at West Ham. Moving on to March, if my phone loads up. Obviously, this was a very pivotal month in the season. Go on, Kevin.
I'll just read out the scores as
Go
usual.
on.
Southampton versus Stoke 0-0. Newcastle 3, Southampton 0. Wigan 0, Southampton 2. And West Ham 3, Southampton 0. Can I start off with this? Low light was the Newcastle performance, losing 3. Wigan, the 2-0 Wigan. I was on the FA Cup fan in the stand.
Oh wait, I didn't know that.
I was on YouTube channel going after Gaviadini missed his penalty.
Oh
I
right.
was going like that.
Unaware.
I was like literally pointing where he should point, where he
Okay.
should score, and overall that Wigan performance, second half, not first half. I thought first half we weren't that great, but second half I thought we break. Also a low light was the West Ham game, even though I didn't go because I was a bit afraid of the trouble, because there was a lot of trouble around the London stadium with fans rioting and stuff, and I thought it was best not to go to
Fair
that
enough.
match.
Because that was this game after they had all the issue on the pitch, wasn't it?
Yes. They played Burnley the week
Yes,
before,
yeah.
or the 2 weeks before
Yeah,
at home.
I remember that.
I
now,
do.
yeah.
Sometimes it's like about safety in it. When you go into a football match,
Sure.
you don't feel like you don't know what if. They were very unhappy, but the Newcastle performance for me was definitely the low light. I thought we offered absolutely nothing in that match.
Yeah, obviously that was the nail in the coffin for Pellegrino, that performance.
Yeah.
What about-
That was the game where he left the building, wasn't it?
Yes.
What about you, Jeff?
Well, it was a bad month. I think the low lights was the 3-0 at Newcastle, and the 3-0 at West Ham. Being 3-0 down at half time against a struggling side, it's just almost like unbearable.
And they weren't fantastic goals either, were they?
No.
From what I can remember.
I mean, the nemesis for us at Newcastle was Kennedy. He
Yes.
was on loan from Chelsea. The low point for me of the month was obviously the Newcastle game. I mean, we just looked so disjointed. We were in disarray. We didn't look like a team. And I suppose the other thing you would say about the West Ham game was that we can't play with two strikers up front.
Everyone was
Well,
calling,
which
for it.
is you and I always discuss this, and we're both on the same hymn sheet about it, because everybody was calling for it, and it didn't materialise. But I suppose on the flip side of that, I'm trying to sort of think of a high point for the month. I think the high point for me, and I don't take any pleasure from saying it, but I think it was Pellegrino leaving the building, because something needed to drastically change if we were going to stay up. And the Newcastle game, it showed that.
Yeah.
It showed that, and it was getting to the stage where as a supporter, I was just getting disillusioned being on. I thought if the board are adamant that he's staying for the whole of the season and we get relegated going into next season, never a question that you'd renew your season ticket and you'd go to the games. But I've got to be honest, my heart wouldn't have been in it,
No.
you know.
I know Pellegrino was sacked, but looking at the actual wins that Mark Hughes got, he only actually got a win against Swansea and a win against Bournemouth, and then 2 draws. Like,
But-
do you
but
do you
that's-
honestly think that Pellegrino? I personally think Pellegrino would have got the same amount of points.
I don't think so. I think when you're on the slippery slope and you've had the run of games that we had, and I just think the Newcastle game highlighted
Yeah.
what a mess, you know, we were in as a team, I would say. Because the thing is Kevin, as a supporter, you go up, you drive all the way up there, right, and the first thing you'd be saying in the dressing room, because obviously I don't know who's communicating with who, but surely the first thing they would have been saying in the dressing room would have been, keep it tight for the first 20. And we go and concede inside 2 minutes. Well, I don't know how long, but it seemed like I just took my seat and scored, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the highlight for me has got to be the win at Wigan. As much as the semi-final shouldn't be played at Wembley, to get through and everyone being really happy to get through to the semi-final. Obviously, our best cup run since we got to the final in 2003.
Yeah. The highlight for me was Cedric's goal.
Yes. Well, it was two players obviously that never scored
Because
before.
how many times as a fan do you see somebody who's clear? You know, he's only got a defender to beat, and you're just sitting there going, "Go for it!" And boy, did he go for
He
it!
did, absolutely. I mean,
You know?
because Højbjerg scored the first goal as well. Obviously, his first.
Yeah,
Goal for the club.
fantastic. Yeah, fantastic.
And injured Jack Stevens in his celebration. So that was really good, and I remember people sort of saying straight away that, you know, would Cedric have done that run under Pellegrino? Probably not. So people looking at Mark Hughes and how he'd already tried to change things in that time. Yeah, I mean, I think probably West Ham was probably my bigger low light, because I was thinking more off the back of the Wigan result that Mark Hughes might turn some of the performances around, and at the time I know we weren't fantastic against Wigan, and obviously Wigan are not of the same level, but just that I didn't expect that result. I you know, obviously Newcastle of course was disappointing, but you could see that sort of result coming at that time, whereas I didn't with the West Ham game. I think Stoke was just a damp squib all round. Nothing really happened at all in that game, did they? I remember Stoke having 1 or 2 chances that they could have tucked away, and we had a few. I remember Boufal missing a sitter, if my memory serves.
That
Yeah.
was an awful game.
It was an awful game. But, of course, that was the weekend that it snowed as well, so there was a bit of uncertainty around the game, and then if people could make it or not. Yeah, I think that covers everything. Should we move on to April? Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started off with a 3-2 defeat at Arsenal, and then we suffered another 3-2 defeat at home to Chelsea, and then started a mini run of points with a 0-0 draw at Leicester, and then a 2-1 win against Bournemouth, and sandwiched in between that was the semi-final in the FA Cup. Kevin?
So low light was the fact that I was sat inside the ground with Mark, and I was slagging off a certain Poland defender, and then he magically scores a goal. When Jan Banarak scored against Chelsea, and then Olivier Giroud then scores 2 goals. Both of them were that game for me was the biggest low light. The performance against Arsenal, where I thought we actually deserved something from that game, that was my highlight.
Yeah. I'd go with that. Jeff?
I didn't really have any low lights for this month. I think it was the month where we kind of started turning the corner a little bit. We lost a couple games which I felt we were unlucky to lose. So I was more like looking at the positives out of that, in the sense of our performances were pretty good. But the high point, probably the 0-0 at Leicester, because I think we needed to get something after the 2-3, the 3-2 losses. We needed to get something. We needed to not so much necessarily get a win, because there were still a few more games to go, but we needed to be able to get a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Because we conceded goals in the last 2 games previous to that.
Yeah.
So it was more important to get something and keep a clean sheet and not concede, I think. Because we still had a few other games to go.
Yeah.
And that point could end up proving vital, and it probably did in the end.
Yeah, I think, well, the highlight for me, Bournemouth 2-1. And the reason for it is I seen the reaction of the players, on the bench, because they were going over and celebrating, and I thought to myself, actually, we do have a team that are at least trying to pull for one another, and there's a bit of team unity there, which is great to see. The low point, I've got to agree with Jeff. The low point for me was the 0-0 at Leicester. I mean, I can't remember if anybody else went, but I was there, and trust me, Leicester were on the beach, right? And I thought we played conservatively that day. I thought if we had because even if you watch Mark Hughes' press conference, he's saying, the players need to gamble more. They need to, need to take a greater responsibility in terms of, when we're in the attacking third. And that was, he said that after in the press conference, which I totally agree with. So that was my low point.
My low point definitely was the 3-2 defeat at Chelsea. I remember feeling very, very low in terms of the result of that game afterwards. I was playing so well and really deserving to be 2-0 up. And then, as Kevin alluded to, when Giroud scored, you could see it coming. To lose that 2-0 lead in 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes later concede a third, was just unbelievable. And I must admit, after that game, that's when I really had to sort of sit back and think, hang on a minute, this could be the disaster zone now.
Well, even you, Matt.
Even me.
Even you.
I was kind of vindicated though, because I did say to Mark that Jan Banarek's not a good defender, and I was proven right. Because
a lot of fans would disagree with you there, Kev. They were saying
I actually became a bit of a fan towards the end of the season. Mind you, the World Cup clouded my judgment slightly now, so I don't know where I am with him, to be fair. But I think the thing is the one thing I'd say about him is he's committed.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see how next season pans out.
The highlight has to be the Bournemouth game. It's such a massive, massive game to win.
That was huge.
Probably Dusan's best game of the season.
Yeah, well, man, I tell you, I keep saying it. The lad is Jekyll and Hyde, right? And I keep saying this, and he drives me to distraction. He does, right? And you sit there, you watch him when he's on song, and you think, sometimes you do sit there and you think, unplayable. And then there's other times when you just think, is he interested today? What's happening? And I just want to say, I mean, in terms of quality, I think it would be, I know he's 29 years of age, but I still think it would be a real travesty if he left over the summer.
I'll have to wait and see. Won't
I think also Mario Lemina's performance in that Bournemouth match was
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
best. Up with Tadic's, both of those two together were outstanding in that
Yeah,
match.
no, definitely, mate. I mean, Lemina played that Bournemouth game. He played like he played at Crystal Palace
he did.
in that September. You know and when he's sort of like that, and he's sort of driving us forward from the middle of the park. You know.
Yeah. Right, moving on to last month in May. We had 3 games. We had a 1-1 draw at Everton, a 1-0 win away at Swansea, and we had, to finish the season, a 1-0 defeat at home to Manchester City. If we don't all have the same highlight, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, we were all there.
We were indeed. We wasn't going to miss that game, are we?
The one my highlight was the fact that I went into a wheelchair space, and it was number 76, painted red. Oh, you know, you can't have everything. Would have been better if it'd been yellow, but 76 red. I thought to myself, that is a cracking omen even to start with.
Yeah.
My highlight is actually going to Swansea's football ground. I just absolutely love that stadium. I'm absolutely devastated that we won't go.
I'm disappointed from that point of view.
Because
I love the ground.
just the fact when Gabardini scored that goal and I had the perfect view. I was like literally a tiny bit off the goal, and I could see the ball going into the back of the net, and I'm going mental. And just all the dirty-handed tactics before the match, just everything, just the spice that game had. It was with the Marriott Hotel, and I just loved that game, and that was my highlight of
And
the
all
whole
the
season.
celebrating in the car park afterwards.
Yeah.
That was
That was probably my highlight of the season, was celebrating in the car park after that win. And everyone's got a newfound love for Gabbiadini after that goal.
Yeah.
If he didn't have it after Wembley in the previous season,
yeah,
he definitely has it now.
To be from, on the Gabbiadini front, I think Saints fans loved him anyway.
Yes.
You know, it was just,
Well, I'm saying, if it
just a
wasn't-
difficult season for him. You know, never wasn't getting a fair crack of the whip, because he's a quality striker.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Jeff?
More low light was Everton's 96th minute equaliser.
Yes.
That was heartbreaking. That was hard to take. 'Cause I thought we played very well that day, to be fair.
Did.
My highlight was Gabardini's goal.
Yeah.
That's one.
It's alright. So yeah, we were all agreed on the same thing,
Yeah.
and I think we all should be, really, shouldn't we? Let's be honest. One of the weirdest moments that I've had as a Saints supporter happened in the final game against Manchester City, where I've never seen us be so happy to still concede at the last minute. Obviously, we weren't happy that we conceded, but the fact that we were still so happy after we had conceded at the last minute.
It was a weird after the game. I know we conceded late on, but in a way, just seeing both sets of supporters both buzzing.
Yeah.
And like literally, I remember walking through the car park and you having Southampton fans and Man City fans both shaking each other's, both like.
Yeah.
it was probably because they broke the 100.
Well, that was it. That was it.
They were so happy. Saints fans were so happy. It just didn't matter what.
It was a very, very weird feeling having conceded in the last minute, and for the Saints fans not really to care. It was very odd. But yeah, the way Man City celebrated that goal that Jesus scored. I mean, it was a fabulous goal in itself. It was just
The warning sign was there. About,
Yes, it was,
30
yeah.
seconds before.
It was.
And you're sort of sitting there because I've got to be honest. That's probably me, but I was sat there thinking, God, if we can get a point here, it'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
City
there was the
City won
warning
that
sign.
ball,
I can't remember who, but about 30 seconds before we almost conceded, and you're thinking, all you need to do is just keep your concentration levels up. The whistle's going to
But
go at any minute.
they broke every single record, I think, with that goal, didn't they? There was a couple of records that they were level on in terms of wins and points and things.
Yeah.
So that 3 point, turning that one from 1 point into 3 was absolutely massive for them. And the explosion off the bench, and obviously the explosion of noise from the away end, it will live with me because it was such a weird moment in the fact that Saints fans didn't really seem to care.
I did. I'm sorry.
You did? Okay, alright then.
I did. I'm
The
sorry.
majority didn't seem to care.
I'm sorry. It's Manchester,
I
so
was
I'm
quite,
sorry.
I was quite happy because I had to go through the Man City fans just to get home. So I was quite happy that they kind of scored, so I didn't get my head kicked in. So I'm like,
Well, I was just going to say, like, it was just the irony of the Man City really late equaliser, because it's like a week earlier, and you'd have been like your head would have been in your hands, and you'd have been falling, you'd have been devastated.
We were, weren't we?
And like, you know,
we were.
they stuck the ball in the back of the net in the 96th minute, and just like, oh, I don't matter, I'll go down the pub. You know, it's like you're still celebrating. It's really bizarre.
That's true.
Well, I think it's fair to say that it wasn't a good season, to put it very, very mildly.
Oh, you hope that we can look forward to next season, and and people hear to what they're saying and lessons being learned and stuff like that.
So to round this up then, do we all feel that that it was a positive step to keep Mark Hughes in charge for this season?
Yes.
no.
Yes.
Why no, Kevin?
Because he only managed to get 2 wins and 2 draws, and to me, I think we should have gone out and looked for a different type of approach, a different type of manager, and and also make some more signings, and also be positive in like the media and all aspects of the football club. We could have had a brand new, fresh start, and did something different for a change.
Go, Kev.
I've got to totally disagree with what you're saying, Kevin. The way I see it, Mark Hughes came in, he had literally 7 games to turn
8 games, yeah.
to turn it around. Well, we were a sinking ship, We lost 3-0 2 weeks on the trot in March. We lost 3-2. When he came in, he had 7 games. Right? We were a sinking ship. He had 7 games to turn things around and save us. Right? He come in. He didn't know any of his players or the team, so you got to give him time to get to know people. And when you consider his first game was a semi-final of the cup, right? And we
quarterfinal.
Quarterfinal, sorry, yeah. And we got a result in that, and then it's back to the league, right?
Yeah.
So say altogether, I know, maybe say 8 games all in, right? And he got two wins. Was it?
Yeah, 2 wins, 2
and 2 draws. Right, and is that including
all the rest? All the rest
No, it was
were
3. It was including the win game. It was 3 wins.
Yeah.
Well, 3 wins, 2 draws in what, 8 games?
8
or 9 games.
9 games.
In 9 games. Well, that's pretty good considering he's come in. He didn't know any of the players. He had to get to know everyone. You've got to give the manager a couple of weeks to get to know his players. And
I think
what I'm trying to say is, how whoever you bring in, how do you judge him after 9 games?
Mark Hughes, for me, is a manager that will make you safe, but not necessarily progress our football club. I think he's the type of manager.
That's a fair point.
He's the type of manager that will be finished 12th, 13th, 14th, but as a football club, we should have a little bit more higher standards and be pushing to Europe.
I think you could get us higher than that potentially. I think again a bit of a strange one. I still
think if you push people, you overstretch. That's the problem.
I think
there's a lot to be said about mid-table mediocrity, and it's something that I go on about. There's nothing wrong with mid-table mediocrity, and I don't lack I say that I don't lack ambition for Saints, but when we're talking about Saints, you've got to look at the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
And what I would say is this is the reason why I endorse Mark Hughes is he's British, right? I can turn the TV or I can listen to him on the telly without having to turn the TV up full volume to try and strain and hear what it is he's saying and make sense of it. But my concern with Mark Hughes is this, is if he's allowed to manage and get on with the job in hand and identify a few of his own targets, then I'll be happy. But I think we're already seeing that might not be the case.
I think it was a bit of a strange one in a sense because I think 8 points from 5 games wouldn't normally be enough to turn a survival bit of when you were 5 points away enough.
See, I don't see the complaint, to be honest with you, because he came in this situation where we were in disarray. We were the Titanic, we were the Mary Celeste, we were everything else. And what he did do, irrespective of the results, but what he did do was he made us organised, he made us compact, he made us hard to beat. He had us scoring goals.
Yeah.
You know,
I just think that our survival also heavily relied on Swansea getting no points from 5 games.
Oh yeah, but
after the Chelsea game, we were 5 points behind them, and they didn't win a single point.
But by the same token, I mean, I don't know, I can't remember whether they scored in their last game, but before they played us, they'd scored something like 3 goals in 15 hours or something of football.
My thing that swayed me towards Mark Hughes in the end was the players saying at the end of the season that they want him here for this upcoming season, and that the players really felt that he was making that difference that you were pointing out, Mark. Go on, and last point.
I just wanted to sum this up, right? He comes in, and we were a sinking ship. He comes in, he's got 9 games to turn it around, and he kept us up, right? So that's all you can ask of any manager to come in 9 games, right?
Yeah.
And this is my point.
Yeah.
Once whoever we brought in has kept us up, we've got to do what some fans don't think we do, and we've got to back the manager.
Yeah.
Whoever you bring in, or just feel you've got to back your manager.
Hang on. That's one thing I want to pick up.
For a manager to achieve what you think he can achieve, you've got to be given some backing.
The one thing I will say is, right, where there was discord under Pellegrino with the fans, I don't think there wasn't one supporter, right, during that spell till the end of the season under Hughes that wasn't 100% behind him, because we all wanted the club, we all wanted the team to stay up, right?
Yeah.
We all put aside our issues with how things are done at the club and things like that. There, I mean, really, we haven't had a proper post-mortem about that, but that's for another podcast. But all I would say is there wasn't one person that I knew of that was a Saints fan that wasn't 100% behind Mark Hughes, because we needed to do it to keep us up. The fans needed to get behind the players, get behind the new manager and everything else, and be positive to keep us up.
I think his appointment's the easy option, because he got the fans, he get everybody behind him, but I think to progress the football club, I think it'll just make us comfortably safe, and I don't think there's going to be no progression there.
I just think any ideas of Europe in the current situation they find themselves is just fallacy.
Yeah.
It's just fallacy.
Well, what a wonderful point on to end on. Well, thank you guys for doing a season review. Thank you for our listeners. We hope you enjoyed. Please get back to us and give us some feedback on how you felt this season review went. If you've got anything else to add, please get in touch. Be on the lookout for other things that we will be doing as Under the Halo to reach out to you guys, and we will see you soon, hopefully. And enjoy the summer. Hopefully we'll get some news in on incoming transfers and things like that, and we can't wait for the first game against Burnley in August. Cheers guys, thanks, bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed what we had to say on this session of Under the Halo. It might be our voices on the mics, but remember, it's your voices that really count on getting this podcast out to the fans. So please recommend us to your friends and other supporters to follow our social media. If you want to get in touch, find us on Facebook and Twitter at Under the Halo 1 or use the hashtag UTHalo. You can also email us at underthehalo1@yahoo.com. Until next time, come on you Saints!